All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Market Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How you doing today?
Carlos, I am doing great. I am in the middle of camping, packing. So admittedly, I'm not. Got to get focused on the markets here because I'm excited. I'm taking my nephew camping. Never been camping before in his life. He's a teenager now. He said he wanted to go hiking and camping, and I'm like, I'm in, because his parents
That's
were like,
awesome.
why would we want to do that? This is why we have a house, so we don't have to go out and live in the woods. So I was like, I'm down, man. Camping never stuck with
Yeah.
my kids, so I'm happy to take my nieces and nephews if they want to camping. So my wife doesn't like camping either, so I'm surrounded by
Yeah.
non-campers. I've done something
I
wrong in my
love it.
life.
My wife doesn't like it as much either, and my kids so-so. The oldest one so-so, but I love it, man. Wish I could get more in every year. So,
Hmm.
um, friends, we are coming in with economic data so happening right now, which should be out. So we'll take a look at the overall market. Not doing anything fancy, but let's look at those numbers, Peter. So what we have in the U.S. economic PCE data.
Yes. So, number of PCE, core PCE, non-core. We had personal income, personal spending. I got to tell you guys, boring. It was all boring. Basically, everything came out exactly on target. The only thing that was different was the personal income. Apparently, personal income didn't grow as much as expected. It only grew by 0.2% instead of growing by 0.4%. So, yeah, boring, boring, boring. That means that the markets probably are just going to ignore that, and we got to move on to other stuff. But today, this week we had some good earnings, had a little bit of fun with earnings. There's a lot of companies that are reporting last night and this morning, but none of them are really that active traders. Like, I was going through the list. I'm like, look at all
Yeah.
these companies. And then I got all disappointed. There was none of them that I really cared to track. I'll be very honest. So I don't know what to expect for today. I'm hoping that our good old standbys are going to come through like they have. I mean, heck, yesterday, Andrew had another one of those banner days pulling in six figures for his morning of effort. So, he traded live with us as he always does on YouTube. Good 100, what is it? 117 grand, I think he pulled in yesterday. So, you know, there's money
That's
to be
it.
made. Can't deny that.
Just that
Just,
seems a
just
little
that.
light.
Yeah. That's all. It's only like half a Lamborghini. I mean, come on.
I mean,
He's got to
man.
step up his
All
game.
right. He's
Lamborghini
got
a
to
day,
step up his
baby,
game.
or nothing.
Yeah. Keeps going that way. We might not be able to give away that Tesla if we reach $1 million, friends. So over on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, so stay tuned to that. Also hit the like button if you want to be part of that giveaway when we do get to 1 million subscribers here on our channel. All right, yeah, markets. You got some volatility, but not a whole lot happening. Anything else, Peter, later today, or just that's it for
No,
now?
well, 10 o'clock, we've got the consumer sentiment number that comes out, but the markets usually shrug that off and continue on their merry way. So there's not much happening. Yeah. See, it's pretty slow, Carlos. It really
Yeah,
is pretty
yeah.
slow today. It's,
Yeah, so far, I'm hoping that changes. I'm really hoping that changes and we get
yeah.
some volatility and some action going here this Friday morning. Friends, what's not slow is the scappers list. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
We are jam-packed on the green side of things now, right? Yes, it was on the red. A lot of this stuff is, a bit of a bounce back. I'm sure between it 2% and 4%. You got a lot of these are just, they were hurting yesterday. They're coming back a little bit like Snap, Nvidia. All these were in the red, and a lot of these have been selling off pretty aggressively lately with the overall market. So you're getting a little bit of a bounce back here. Some earnings, I can see 3M here. We'll get to that. But for the most part, Peter, I mean, would you agree a lot of these are just bouncing back from the sell-off the last couple of days?
Well, absolutely. As you know, if you were watching the markets yesterday or just check them out this morning, our semis had a rough day. Tesla had a rough day. losing some big ground there. So it was we'll see if they can regain some of that. But I mean, it's we got to keep in mind when I say a rough day, like the sky's not falling. Like, let's all keep things in perspective. Always go back and look at a daily chart. Look at where things sit. I mean, Tesla's been a lot lower for a lot longer than where it sits right now. The semis, I mean, it was great. It was exciting having Nvidia at all-time highs, and AMD had been up there. We're down, not an extreme amount. I mean, certainly we're down off the highs, but I think that we're still doing okay. I mean, don't forget, we still are in a political cycle. Remember all the excitement, I guess, after the weekend, and that sort of died off. We're now back to summer business as usual, which basically means that lower volumes, right? Slightly less volume to push the prices around, but when they do move, they tend to move in exaggerated movements. And we've certainly been seeing that this week. So again, just because there's no big economic data or single news event catalyzing the markets today doesn't mean that things can't move. We can see these moves that just tend to get started and keep going without any particular catalyst on them. So I actually love trading these days because they lend themselves to my strategies better, and they tend to work fairly well. So I'll be watching closely and see if we can get some good trade opportunities. Love to take some good money out camping this weekend and go and have a nice weekend. Come back refreshed and ready for Monday morning. So looking forward to it.
A- Absolutely, and not that you can do anything with your money out camping. It's one of the great things about it, right? Kind of disconnects you from all the things out there, social media, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, man, have fun. Hopefully, you have a great time camping. Hope you enjoy it. All right, friends,
Sure
let's
will.
jump right into this gappers list. Yeah, I know you will. Are your guests going to?
Well, the
That is
weather
the
the weather
challenge.
is supposed to be just about perfect here. So it'll be around 15, 16 degrees at night and 30 during the day. So in American terms, that's like 65 in the evening and 85, 90 during the day. So that's just perfect
Awesome.
camping weather. So it should be awesome.
Yeah. That should be
Sunny.
good. All right. Let's yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. Let's jump in here, friends. WINT this morning. We're up 126%, 8.7 million shares traded, and this thing is rocking this morning. It is a low flow, 500,000 shares flow. Let's confirm that.
Yeah,
That's what I'm getting from
that's what I see.
tradingterminal.com right now. It is. Wow, that is pretty low. Any news driving? I know it's a very low flow stock. Does not take much. Anything on deck as far as news?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know. I do not
Hmm.
know what is moving this.
Which
No
is
analysts
which
even
is not
follow
a
this
yeah.
thing. They don't. There's
Yeah.
no insider trading. There doesn't seem to be any news on it. What's happening? I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah, it can happen. These stocks, when the flow is that light, you can get just no reason at all why this thing is moving. So, if any of our friends has any news on this, throw it out there. But right now, we don't see anything. So it is in
yeah,
play. It's a risky stock. I mean, be careful. It has all the flags up. Hard to borrow, SSR, you name it. It's one of these stocks that you got to make sure you know what you're doing. So, it is a risky stock of the day so far. We'll add it on here. I mean, it is in play is WINT this morning with tons of
yeah.
volume so far.
Don't mind.
Um, Heading down to this next one, CREV is another low flow. Got a couple of low flow stocks here today.
8 million.
Another low flow at 1.5, 1.7 million shares traded. This is up 77%. And it looks like it's coming off some very interesting daily here. Just 2 days ago, we had a pop all the way to 14 and then sold off back down to 6. Today, looking to do the same thing, pop up all the way to about 14 at 14 and then selling off from the highs right now. So very interesting daily here. Interesting, more interesting. Like this, I've got to see how this traded right 2 days ago. But look at the volume today. We got way more than that, almost 10 times looks like, and we're moving. So scary stock though. This is really not my type of play. Peter, does
No,
this one have any news, if any?
it does. At least I was able to find news on this bad boy. So this is a tiny little company called Carbon Revolution. And Carbon Revolution, they make carbon fiber wheels. So for cars, and they're an auto parts company out of Ireland, but they've been given the nod to produce the carbon fiber wheels that are going to come standard with the new Corvette ZR1. So that is good news for them. I mean, I actually don't even know how many of those they sell in a year. It's sort of high end vet. Great contract for them. But and that's why they're moving this morning. But keep in mind this is a company that has just under 2 million shares in its float. It's only capitalized at just under $12 million. So we're not like it's not. Yeah, this is high risk, low float stuff. But good news for them. 4 million shares though. They're definitely trading volume today.
Yeah, they definitely got a lot of volume there. I'm laughing because as you were talking, I just started to take a sip of my coffee right when we were finishing up, and I'm like, that was bad timing. I
Oh,
didn't time that
sorry.
correctly. It's all about timing. No, it's my fault. My fault on my end. All right, friends over on YouTube. So far, no luck on this gappers list. I mean, this is in play. Do you want to keep this? I am not. I'm not going to look at that.
Now that
EVRI is next. Yeah.
I was going to say the WINT, which I don't know why it's moving, looks better than this one, frankly. But
It does. It
anyways,
really does. It's another one, man. It's just it's the uglies coming out today up front. I mean, just a lot of garbage on deck in this gappers list. Here's another one. IVRI. There's the truck to pick all this stuff up. 41% up this morning. 5.2 million shares traded. It looks like a buyout. The float of this 80 million, so it might be a buyout with the way this thing looks. Peter, what do we have on this? Again, it looks ugly. I probably won't be having this on my list.
very well read, sir. Yes, it is. There's a company called Apollo Funds, which is apparently going to take Every Holdings, which is this guy EVRI, private. So $6.3 billion deal, and they're going to be pulling them private. I don't see a date on this, but sometime in 2025, expected to close the third quarter of 2025. They need a bunch of approvals and things. They got to dot the I's and cross the T's, but that's the plan. They're going to buy up the shares and take it private. So not going to be a good trader, this baby.
Yeah. Nothing to see there, friends. Let's move on over to COUR. So COUR, this is up 25%, 397,000 shares traded. I mean, it just looks it looks brutal. Another one that's probably not going to be making my list. Peter, anything on this one? Looks like last night it got going, and into this morning we're seeing the continuation.
Yeah, they had earnings after the close yesterday. Not something I was following, but they did have a good quarter, beat their top line sales and bottom line earnings. I guess it all looked good for them, but I don't think I've ever seen this on our list. They're an education and train. They're a U.S. based education and training services. Normally, the only ones I see are the Chinese education and training. But yeah, it still doesn't look good. It's not a low float. I'm surprised. 130 million shares in the float. But I'm not liking it either.
Yeah, don't love it at all. Wow, we're what? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 0 for 4 right now. We're looking like the Yankees last 10 games here. MEDS 22.4 this morning, 407. This is not looking any better. Another garbage truck type ticker. Peter, I mean, do we even want to look at this? This is just
No, this is like
atrocious.
500,000 float. It's been on our list before. It's not unfamiliar, at least this one. We've seen it in the past, but they had their earnings. I don't really care. I don't love it either. So
Yeah,
we're there's a lot of bad things going on here on this list. I'm not sure why all these are jumping up here on our list today. It feels like a Monday.
yeah.
It's usually Monday when we get all this junk on our list.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we got this crap, this medical stuff that they just all decide to report together. I don't know what it is, but 0 for 5. Let's look at IGT. Well, this one's showing some signs of life. We're up 16.4, 461,000 shares traded right now. You know what is you start this happens once in a while, especially when the markets change, right? When we go from a very high volatility market to a very low volatility, things that look like crap, if you keep looking at this stuff, it starts to look good, and that's not good. This actually, I said this actually looks better because everything we looked at looks like you know what, right? The crap emoji. No, this doesn't look good. Actually, I take that back. It's just my eyes have been set to a standard of the
Uh,
winds, the CRV, and all these other crap here.
yeah.
What's going on with this one, Peter?
It's the remember we talked about every the other company, the EVRI. Well, this is part of the same deal. So Apollo Funds is taking
Mm,
this IGT gaming and every funds. It's decided to buy them both. So they're on Apollo Funds is on a spending spree. So yeah, it's same bad news that we had a minute ago. I feel like we're being
yeah.
punked. I was looking
Is this
ahead,
list
Carlos. We
right?
got like we got these like weird names on our list. We got this crappy list. Look at the next
Yeah.
one, CMAX. I'm like, oh, is that wait? That's not CarMax, is it? No, it's CareMax, not
Okay.
CareMax. Like what?
Yeah,
You're just
that
making
is
stuff up now. Come on, markets. You're drunk. Go home.
yeah, 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 yeah. What is going on? You know what? Yeah,
Anyway,
this is brutal. Just look at this thing. It's not great. Someone asked why we don't we like CORU. Let's take a look here. That's our good buddy
looking.
Dan over on YouTube. Um, C
Oh,
O C O
C
U
O
R
U
C
R.
O U R. Yep, there we go.
Oh,
Uh, I don't know, man. The volume is very light. I mean, I
yeah,
know,
four hundred
but I'm trying to
thousand.
explain to you now. Yeah, volume is very light, and even on the daily, right? The daily only 3 million and less on most days, so it doesn't move a whole lot. It's gapping up today, man. Listen, if today's going to be the day where it does something magical, it is today. You got a nice gap up here, which you haven't seen in a long time. Stocks like this, though, from experience, they don't give you the best intraday trading options. So, or opportunities. So I'd rather watch something else. Now, don't get me wrong. If I go through this list and I find nothing, then we'll go back and maybe this could be one that everybody's watching today and it does well. But for the most part, I think out of the five stocks I'm going to watch, this was not going to be the best one on there, and that's part of the
Yeah.
reason as well. Go ahead,
I,
Peter.
I still wouldn't go back to this one. I mean, its ATR is 30 cents, so it moves 30 cents on average. But you can see there's a lot of days in July where it had less than 15 cents movement. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
you know I don't.
And this is what you
Yeah,
get normally. Like if you go into look at the action from yesterday, and maybe not the best example. Try to find another one with that has more activity. This is what you usually get. This right here.
right.
This is horrible. Look at the volume, right? So it's very difficult to for us momentum breakout traders, which is that is what a 5 minute RB is, or we need a lot of volatility and movement, and you're not going to get it here. So the chances of this trading well it's not high, and this happens with a
Now,
lot of stocks, not just this one, you know?
yeah. Now, if you've got a strategy that allows you to trade that, right, and you've got good
Yeah.
patience and you can take and manage that, then by all means, there's some great trades out there that Carlos and I would overlook and would say doesn't look good to us, but may look fantastic to you. So keep in mind, we're just giving you sort of our perspective on what we see. But when we look at something like this compared to a Tesla or an Nvidia or AMD or these things that sort of move with good volume and direction every single day with or without a catalyst, that's sort of our standard that we're comparing all these stocks against.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move down. We're like 0 for 7 now. Let's look at BMY. BMY this morning. This one is a hit or miss, and they're not great. I've seen them trade well, and I've seen them trade horrible. You just got to watch in the market open. You're not going to get a lot pre-market. It is up today though, Peter. 6.3. Do they have any news this morning? Seems like a
Last night
decent
after
gap
the
up.
Oh, maybe it was this morning. They had earnings. Anyways, the reason why they're on our list is because of earnings. And they looks like, and it was this morning. Sorry, earlier, like before 7. Anyways, they beat their numbers top and bottom line. They had a good quarter. This is not a low float, right? They've got 2 billion shares in the float, and this is a major company, Bristol Myers Squibb, Mr. Squibb, yeah, Bristol Myers Squibb. They merged a long time ago. Kept adding names like a law firm. Anyways, but they're not a law firm. Had a good quarter. Anyways, like you said, Carlos, this is one of those ones that I always like to think maybe will trade well when it gets the earnings. Typically doesn't. It is a NYSE stock. Usual rules on a NYSE stock. You got to be careful. Wait for the volume. But yeah, it's other than earnings, there's no major announcements, and I don't really see any reason to expect it to move, in a large fashion after the opening bell rings.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see over here. Next one on here we have IREN. IREN. Oh man, we're going from bad to worse. Up 6.3, 256,000 shares traded. We've seen this one here before. It can move. When it was hitting 16.15 up here, it
So
was actually moving pretty good. But I'm not gonna have this on my list, Peter. Anything good on it?
well, if you remember Iris Energy, it pops up on our list regularly in the last couple of months. So they're the I don't know, the energy company that has moved to a crypto mining company that is now an AI data center support provider. So they're sort of hitting all the key buttons there. Australia based. I think that they pop up when Bitcoin prices pop up. That's usually when we see it, or there's a significant interest in AI. So it's Bitcoin this morning. We're going to see a bunch of these Bitcoin miners on the list because if you look at the Bitcoin daily chart, we had been moving down over the last couple of days and we sort of jumped up overnight here. And we're now sitting up over 68,000. Move about $3,500, $4,000 from the close or where we were at about this time yesterday. So yeah, Bitcoin prices are up a little bit again. The weekend's coming. That's usually when they see their bigger moves if they're going to move at all. So I have been keeping an eye on Mara this week, and it frankly hasn't really done much of interest. So IREN is not going to be something I'm going to look at. It's moved, but not giving me good signals that I say I'm going to jump in and take a trade on it. So IREN will also be off my list.
Yeah, and if that's the news that's kind of driving that, Matter and Coin are going to be much better to look at. I mean, Coin had some really good days last week, and into this week a little. But you see these days here, we have some increased volume. We got some really nice movement. So far, we have not seen anything great. But if that's the news, you got better options to look at, like Mara and Coin. Again, also Mara the last week and a half or so. Look at the daily here, has been trading much better than what we've been getting. This is what we've been getting out of Mara. Look at this. This is just nasty. I mean, there's nothing happening here. It's just stuck back and forth, very choppy. So yeah, it has not been great. Just last week we started to get something out of it. And part of it this week is just overall market. So if you're looking at, oh man, this is nice, I'm going to have Mara. Okay, take a look at Tesla and Nvidia. The other big guys are also moving down with the market, and this is probably not going to be your best pick, right? So well, don't give it too much credit for these days here, but these other days they did trade very, very well. They have some catalysts going here, coming off, like Peter said, coming off the weekend, which is normally when they get their big moves. So we'll see what that looks like on Monday. All right, let's stop here. We're gonna bounce around a little bit. Let's look at I know 3M has earnings. Peter, fill us in on
Yep.
that.
Yeah, 3M had earnings before earlier this morning. Once again, beat their numbers. Good quarter. 3M typically, they usually do pretty good on their numbers. Analysts have been pretty bullish on 3M. They had a lot of upgrades earlier this year. Nothing in the past month or so, but their quarterly earnings report was fairly impressive. So you can see good jump for them, good move, especially considering again how late their daily movement typically is. So this to me looks a little bit better than some of the others we've been looking at, just because I know it can move after the open again. NYSE stock. I like the gap up here in the range. That being said, I still I don't know, man. It's iffy. Like it just ugh, not not great. Slightly better than the rest, but still not great.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I, I like 3M, and I wish they could trade better. I'm gonna add them to my secondary list and hope that today could be a day where we get something out of it. So, 3M on the list for now, and then we have our. Let's not forget about Wint. It's our low flow of the day, guys. 10 million right now, up 120%. So I have that there, but 3M, I'm gonna add to my secondary list, and we'll see where it goes. I love this huge gap ups like this, especially if it's an overreaction and we're gonna start selling off at the market open. You know exactly where this thing wants to go, right back to 105. So we'll see how it does. I like the gap up of 5.7. Looks pretty good this morning. But again, it lets us down more often than not. All right, we talked about Bitcoin, so we did talk about Riot, CleanSpark, and Mara, so that's covered. And then we have a lot of our usual suspect here. We have Nvidia, we have MU, we have AMD, we have Dell. A lot of tech companies here. So let's start with Nvidia and AMD, and then we'll see what else is on here. We'll look at Dell and MU as well. So Nvidia right now, we man 9.3 million shares traded. Didn't we have like 20? Was it yesterday 23 or something? I mean, the volume just keeps climbing here. And look on the daily too, you'll be getting some really nice, good numbers, especially yesterday. So, Peter, I like the pre-market action. I like the volume we're getting here, up 3.1. Just market stuff, right? Nothing specific.
Yeah, I mean this is really sort of a bounce back after the weird day it had yesterday. Like I said, not a great day for Nvidia. I mean, it wasn't disastrous, but big drop off the open on Nvidia, big, even bigger sort of pullback, and then it sort of leaked off into the close. Ended the day not at the lows, but sort of at a low end of its movement chain, and so did AMD. We were watching those into the close, so I sort of expect some good price action today. I think it's going to make, well, we'll see. I think it's going to make a little bit of a recovery today, but who knows? I'm not going to bet on that. I'm just, I'm going to go into the market open minded and see where Nvidia, AMD, and my good friends move. And if they give us a trade opportunity, I'll be jumping right in.
Yeah, absolutely. I have it on my list here. Let's look at the next one. Here's AMD. It's another one that you can look at as well. AMD's been dropping quite a bit, um, a lot actually, from 185 down to 145 in the last couple of days or so, about 2 3 weeks here. I think it's a good one too. I'm going to add it on a secondary. I don't want to put it on my main and jam up my list with all tech, but it's a good one to look at as well. I do have Dell on here, and we know Dell went through a stretch where it did very, very well, got really nice volume, but couldn't hold on to that, right? So we're back down to 114. Is it in play today? We have 674,000 up 2.4. So you got an increase in volume here. The last couple of days have not been fun. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this one, Peter. What's your thoughts on Dell
Yeah, I don't know. I
this
mean,
morning?
they're sort of a Me Too player in the AI space, in my opinion. I mean, they do have some AI plays, but I mean, everybody does. So I don't see their offerings as particularly revolutionary or unique. They are making some talks about AI. Their CEO was on a speaking tour yesterday. I don't know. I'm surprised to see it here, frankly, because it doesn't seem all that momentous. The news isn't that big. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree with
what
you
I'm
on
surprised
Dell
also
there.
to see on the list is Carnival Cruise Lines, CCL, right at the bottom of our list. There, it was at least a minute ago. There it
Still
is.
there. Mhm.
Uh, they are. We had some news in the cruise lines with earnings. I think earlier was Royal Caribbean. We were looking at earlier this week. Carnival did low volume this morning, but again, NYSE stock, so you typically don't get the volume. But they announced that business is good enough. They're buying 3 new ships, or at least they put in an order for 3 new ships. So that had a little bit. I think that's why it's popped up here as people are trying to position, thinking that's good news. But yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see if it actually plays out once the market open happens. CCL, it was a great mover for a period of time. I always think of Thor when I think of these cruise lines, because he was trading them like every single day for about a year, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I don't think he ever came good on his promise to. He was going to take a cruise with his profits from the cruise lines. Didn't he say that?
Hmm.
Pretty sure.
I sounds like something he will say. Yeah, sounds like something he will say. Have you seen this thing? A 3 year cruise, 2 year cruise. Is like you live on the boat and you visit like a hundred something plus countries. Have you seen that? That thing is
I
actually out
have
there.
there was a report on it that it was like a 9 month cruise or something. I can't remember if it was a 1 year or a 9 month cruise. They were saying it's almost coming to an end, and and they were doing some reporting on it. Did you like over the course of this? I think it was a 9 month cruise. They were reviewing at this point, and they said over the course of this 9 month cruise, there have been something like 14 divorces and 4 people have died. I'm like,
Mm.
wow, just random stats, right? Do they mean anything? I don't know, but I'm like, okay. But now keep in mind, I think this cruise ship there's like 2,000 passengers on the cruise ship, so that's probably below average for the general population. I mean, you put 2,000 people on a boat, you're going to have, it's going to a 9 month cruise. Who's that going to attract? Probably a number of people who are older, maybe with some health issues. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, like this 3 year cruise, my God, like
Yeah, 3 years, man.
was called
It's
off.
out of this world. There it is. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, this one was called off, but this is old. I saw something recent where it's back on. And this is 140 countries. Can you imagine being on this thing for 3 years? Now I assume that you can get off if you have some emergency or whatever, whenever they stop and fly wherever you need to. But what they promoted is they were promoting it to me. I don't know why. That is less than living at home, right? And paying for regular daily expense. You could just live here, and they did the calculations
Right.
like you save a couple of thousands a year. So that's how they're gauging it. I'm like, dude, I have kids. I have have responsibilities. I can go away for three
Yeah.
years.
Do you want to see anybody? Like you never see.
Yeah,
Anyways, I
Just
look.
be
I've only ever
sorry.
taken sort of one major cruise, a couple of smaller sort of cruiselets. But I've liked every cruise I've taken. I've got to admit. So haven't had a bad experience. I know some people have, but I guess it's like any vacation, right? You can have a good or bad experience. So I don't mind it. But no, like soon as you start talking in terms of months or years, I think you're going crazy. Like that's too much, man.
Just be a little
You
bit
can have
yeah.
too much of a good
suspicious
thing.
if your spouse suggests going on a cruise. Uh,
She might want a
there.
divorce.
Well, no, people get murdered on cruises all the time because
Oh
it's
my
in
god.
international
It's
waters
wild.
and nobody can investigate the death. If anything, the cruise lines usually try to bury it.
That
Oh
is
man,
interesting. Look at that.
I don't want to know. That's and that comes from the mysterious voice in the ether, eh? Like is that not
Yeah,
creepy?
yeah,
Is that
that is our AI. That is our AI,
yeah.
Brent there we have, we're working on our
Brent
own AI in the
already.
back end here.
Yeah.
All right, there it is,
Yeah.
friends. All right, let's jump to. I mean, this list is not going anywhere fast. I mean, what else is on here? We're gonna stop on the gap up. Let's see what's gapping down, and then Peter, I'll hand it over to you for any earnings and anything else that you like, whether it's gapping up or down. Let's just get rid of this DXCM. It is down 37%. Love this drop here, guys. Almost 40%. 2 million shares traded. This thing is just hot garbage right now. So highway to hell. Is
Yeah.
this a trial that failed? What happened here?
Well, no, earnings. They had earnings after the close
Mm,
yesterday. I'm surprised they've been consistently the only thing on the gap down list. But they had a terrible quarter. Terrible quarter. Missed their numbers all over the place. They cut their guidance. Yeah, like this is I think truly who's getting fired. Yeah, they did not. They just did
yeah.
not do well. I don't even know what to say. I mean, we don't typically follow this company, but I did notice it after the close yesterday, just because it was so stark. And like this morning, everything else is like, we're doing okay. Not DXCM. They're like, we're going down, baby.
Yeah.
We're
Down, down,
taking you
down.
with
I
us.
like the big drop though. 40% is a lot. I like the volume. Usually when these stocks like this take a hit, I like to see how they react. Is there a bounce back opportunity? Maybe not a 5 minute RB, but maybe if they find some support, there can be a play later in the day, right? Hopefully mid morning. I'm going to add it to my secondary just to see how that is going to look this morning. But that is looking pretty bad for them. 40% is a lot, guys. That is no joke there. There's some
Yeah,
people,
that's
someone's getting fired. Some people are not
yeah.
happy.
If you're
Peter, let's go to you,
if
man.
you're long term, it's probably going to move after the open because if you're a long term
Yeah.
holder of DXDM and you're waking up this morning and seeing your investment down 40%, you're not going to be
Mm,
happy. Especially if you look at that daily chart where if I go back here, the last time you were at this level was this big
not so
gap
long
up that it
ago.
made back in 2022. So you're thinking, I just worked or held this thing for 2.5 years and just lost it all overnight. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're not going to
Yeah.
be a happy camper. So I think this thing will be in play.
Ouch.
2 million shares. The volume's likely to be very high today compared to its average. Doesn't mean it's going to be tradable, but I think, like you said, Carlos, compared to everything else, probably worth just keeping an eye on just in case it does something fun.
Yep. Excellent. All right, Peter, take us through what you have or any other earnings that maybe we have not discussed yet.
As I said, you know what? I mean, I went down the list a couple of times, both from last night and today. There were so many things on earnings. If you check out tradingterminal.com, you can sort of see them all there. And I mean, like you said, look at it. I mean, the list is full of logos, lots of things that had earnings. Nothing that jumped out to say this I actually want to trade. We talked about Bristol Myers Squibb. We talked about 3M. There are a couple from this morning. Really, Colgate, sorry, Colgate Palmolive reported, sort of the same, I don't know, sort of type of company. Typically doesn't trade good volume. They had good earnings. They had a good quarter, so that was nice. Booz Allen, BAH reported again, doesn't typically trade any volume. Not a lot of volume this morning. I got nothing. Like really, if you guys have something you really want to watch, let me know. But otherwise, I think we got to really go back to some of the basics. What do we know moves? We know the semiconductors like to move. We know Tesla. We know Apple. We know Microsoft. Right? Those have all been moving fairly well for me over this last week and been worth keeping an eye on, in my opinion. So that's where I'm going to continue to focus my efforts. I will keep a side eye on things like Amazon and Meta and Google. They have been moving on different days this week, not all together, but on different days they've been moving. So yeah, back to the same old, I guess. For me, that's really all I've got, Carlos. Nothing else, nothing new
Yeah.
and exciting.
Yeah. Friends, let's take a look at what you guys like this morning. We'll start with SERV. This is one that many of you guys have mentioned,
Yeah.
Serve of Robotics. We spoke about this a week ago, right? I think the
Yeah,
news came out.
early
What
this
was
week.
their big news?
Investment by Nvidia.
Yeah,
So
yep, there it is. There it is. Yeah. So that's
they
big,
had a
guys.
big
NVIDIA getting
investment.
involved. Yeah.
And it's apparently the Nvidia's investment that they could potentially. There was a news article talking about their AI powered food delivery. That's what they do, robotic food. They're going to get rid of all the fast food workers and replace them with robots. It's look, we've heard this before. I guess I'm a little jaded on the story because yeah, there's a possibility. We haven't really seen it happen yet. So if and when it happens, Serve might be at the forefront of that. But for the moment, it's still a promise yet unfulfilled.
Yeah. Could there be some volatility here? Yes, friends. This thing has been moving pretty well actually the last couple of days as far as the daily goes. I have not seen what the price action looks like. The volume has died down a lot compared to the first two big days when the news came out. Volume has definitely decreased quite a bit, but well, you can watch it if you like. I'm not gonna add it to my list. I'm just not sure. You know what? We have space actually. Today will be the day where I can add something like this and see if we get any type of action. So 4.4 million shares traded, tons of volume. Let's see if it means anything for us today. Heath, yeah, we did talk about Amazon and we talked about Dell. We did not talk about Tesla, but it's one that will be on my list. I think they're moving very well. 2 million shares traded here. So I'll add Tesla on deck as well this morning. 3M, since I have space, I am going to move up 3M to my secondary list, to my main list here. I'd like to watch how that trades today. We do have a little bit of volume, nice gap up. Hopefully can trade very well this morning. And there's another one missing here. Was it DXC? No, DXC is on my secondary. I think that's it. NVIDIA, Tesla, 3M on earnings. I might move Serve V depending how the market open looks there. But I think we are set. Anything else, friends, that we might have missed? I might like Mara. Let's take a look how Mara's doing. Yeah, I like this gap up on Mara. I think Coin also is up. They're all up today. CLSK is up as well. I think they're all in that area where we need to find out how's the market open going to look, right? Are they going to get the volume or are they going to wait for the weekend to do their big moves, which is normally what they do, except this week, this week here, the 15 and the 16, they actually move very well. But again, it's coming off the weekend, right? So we had some pretty good moves there. But normally the weekends is what it does. So I'm going to be watching them on the scanners and see how they play out, and I might take advantage if something good comes out of those two. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate that for mentioning it.
I see
Charlie
one
Young.
of our members.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. One of our members in the room
No, go ahead.
mentioned DEC, DECK, not trading a lot of volume. Did have earnings. They had a great quarter and lifted their guidance. Apparently, they're selling these Hoka shoes and UGG footwear. And anyways, the sale of these helped raise their guidance. But I don't know that it's going to be an active trader. It typically trades very low volume,
Too
like
light. Yeah.
300,000 shares a day. So and it's $1,000 stock. So I don't think it's
The
going to trade well.
spread is
But
gonna be ugly on
good news
that.
for them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good long-term investment. I don't know, but
Yep. Right, there we go. It's again not looking great, that one. What else, friends? I think that kind of covers it. Oh, I was gonna look at POTR. Our good buddy Charlie is giving us POTR over on YouTube. POTR this morning, we are up 1.5, 721,000 shares traded. This stock for me, man, it's just, I don't know. And actually traded decent yesterday, but this stock for me, when I watch it, it doesn't do well today. Looks light on volume. I think we've seen better volume out of them, but look at it yesterday though. Yesterday had a nice double bottom here, got above the VWAP, nice breakout in the 5-minute range around 10:15, which is still good for a 5-minute ORB. It traded well, nice beautiful breakout there. So I'll watch it today. Maybe it can prove me wrong, but man, every time I watch this thing, I just have not had any luck, right? I think out of 10 trades, I think only one was good. So I just tend to avoid it. All right, friends, we'll stop here. Let's take a look. I think we are all set. Peter, let's walk over our announcements for next week. You can always check those out at bearwithtraders.com. Head over to webinars at the top, and you can see what's coming up for the next 2 weeks.
all right, we'll go quickly over the next week. We have our regular slate of activities starting on Monday with our onboarding class. In fact, we're now doing 2 sessions that help new members get oriented and sort of get themselves up to speed. We start at noon with Brendan's session on the DAS setup, DAS configuration. I mean, there's a lot to learn there. It's not that complicated of a tool, but it's also not that straightforward. So it's often good to get advice and sort of help get yourself set up. So that's at noon in the onboarding room. And then at 8 o'clock at night, we have Carlos's regular session where he helps new members get oriented with all they can get out of their Bear Bull Trading membership, as well as tips and tricks to get you started in trading, base strategies, answer your questions. It's a good session. So hopefully you will put those on your calendar and attend, especially if you're a new member or you just want to reorient yourself with some of the tools that you need to use and be successful. Tuesdays, we then talk strategy, and we've had some great sessions. Normally, it's just Tuesdays, although we did have option strategy that happened last night, a special session at 7 o'clock for those of you that were able to attend that. But anyways, next Tuesday, we go back to our regular schedule with Gary, who's going to be taking over, talking about how you can trade utilizing Fibonacci levels. We don't talk about those a lot, but the Fibonacci levels are very popular with a lot of traders. So it's always good to know what a lot of people are using. And the Fibonacci system is one that you should be aware of, at least understand how it works. You'll have that opportunity to learn more about it this coming Tuesday, July the 30th. Now that's at a special time though. That's at 4:15 p.m. So that one's going to be a little earlier than normal. So make sure that you mark that right after the market closed, right? Just 15 minutes after in the webinar room. The week after, we have a new presenter, Brian Lyman, that's going to be with us talking about how you can use Bookmap on options. So we always flip back and forth between equities and options to make sure that we give all of our members the things that they need to know. So in August, we're going to start with options at 8 p.m. on that Tuesday. Wednesday of next week, we go back into our psychology webinars. And Carlos, you yourself, and apparently Carlos and I are going to be delivering this webinar.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, man. Looking forward to it, yeah.
I'm going to be excited to see what we present. But anyways, we will be talking to you about the trading mindset, a support network for for traders. Support network for traders. And having a support network is important. Hopefully we, Carlos and I, are part of your support network as we do this open in the morning and help you get ready for the market. But it doesn't end there. In fact, that's probably just where it starts. So it's good to understand how you can leverage that and use that to help improve your psychology and keep you calm and focused during your trading day. So that'll be the last day of July, Wednesday, July 31st at 8 p.m. And then the week after, Dr. Kenneth Reed will be back with us. I love the title, The Dopamine Trance. We all have to be aware of our dopamine levels and how to manage it. He's going to talk about that this 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, August the 7th at 8 p.m. Thursdays are all about our webinars and our mentorship sessions. We've got 4 for you. 4. Wait. 4. Sorry. 4, my lord. Name that movie. Anyways, we start with John at 11 a.m. We then go to Jared and Megan at 2 p.m. Shane wins the prize. It is Shrek. Yes, indeed. Thank you. 2 o'clock, we talk options with Megan and Jared. 4 o'clock, Lenny's with us to do his mentorship session. And then, of course, as always, we end the day with the ever popular Thor mentorship session. So those are the 4 sessions: 11, 2, 4, and 8. Hopefully you will enjoy. He doesn't win a laptop for that, but he does get 100 Peter points. I have no idea what they're used for, but
I was going to ask you, what can you redeem that for? Well, what does the Peter points get you?
Treasure them.
All right.
Yeah, dad jokes.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can turn them in for dad jokes. All right. So those are the webinars we've got coming up over the next 2 weeks. Hopefully you will attend those. And like Carlos mentioned, we always have, laptop giveaways. We got lots of stuff going on right now. If you're interested in memberships, by the way, Andrew's been telling you about the funded account. We only have a few of those left. So hopefully you will take advantage of it if you really wanted to. He'll tell us more about it when he joins for live trading this morning. But there's very few $50,000 funded accounts. No cap on what you can earn. If you make money, you make real money. He'll pay you out for the money that you earn in that funded account. So if you're interested, well, you should get on our newsletter. He gives you more details on the newsletter, or you can go to our website to get information about that. We got a question in the room: how often will they be offered? Impossible to answer at this point, because this is really the first time that we're offering it. So it's a trial. We're going to see how it goes. And if it goes well, then I guess it'll be more often. If it doesn't, then probably not more often. But we really do hope that people take advantage of it and, frankly, make money so that we can, we really want to help people grow in their trading journey. And sometimes it's just less stressful if you can trade with someone else's money, because you get the benefit of the upside without suffering the risk of the downside, right? It's a good model, especially if you're undercapitalized. And this might be a way to get you jump started. So if you get our newsletter, like I said, it's in there. Andrew has sort of provided a link. If you don't, go to the Bear Bull Traders site, and it's in there. It's on our website. You can find the information with our membership on our membership page. I've got it here, but he put a link in the. How do you get that? Is it right at the bottom of the page? It's not there.
I don't know where it is. Where's this page, guys?
Yeah.
It's in here somewhere. You got to find it. You know what? That's part of the challenge. You find it, then you're worthy of joining. That's how it goes. So
you need the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter, or we're going to ask Andrew when he's here. He'll tell us, because I know it exists because I've got it right here. Let me show you. I'll give you a sneak peek. It'd be like teasing you. Here it is. Look, see, it's here, but it seems to maybe it's on our internal. So it's got the funded account. It's in here.
Nice.
So it exists. There you go. Oh, look at that. Dan O'Surf's got it. BearbullTraders.com/funded-account. So there you go. So it does exist.
Awesome.
He's a real boy.
And you get a year membership with BBT, right? That's part of it as well. Is that on there? Okay.
It is.
All right.
If you're not a member, it's a year membership plus the funded account. Or if you're already a member, you can upgrade to the funded account and pay for that. So check it out. It hopefully will be a good deal for you. Again, if you've got your own account and you're already using it, maybe you don't need this. But it might be a way, again, if you want to sort of accelerate that trading journey, to take a look at it. So, all right. I don't want to run us so late like we did yesterday. Let's set a couple of levels and get ourselves ready for the open.
Yep, you got it, Peter. Let's just jump in here. 9:20. Yeah, we're good. We're good. It's not that much to look at today. Let's look at Nvidia this morning. Nvidia, it is up 3%, 10 million shares traded. So we got, again, just tons of volume. Same thing yesterday, lots of volume. So it's been fun to watch. Let's hope today can continue, giving us some good opportunities. High of the pre-market, 1630. We'll slam one there. Guys, our likes are very low this morning. I know it's Friday. But help us get to somewhat better than that. Only 159. Would love to be at 300 plus. So if you can help us get there and show your support, really appreciate it. For those that already hit the likes, thank you so much. We appreciate your support. We only ask because it does mean a lot to us in the channel. So me and Peter really, really appreciate you guys. And sorry to bother you, but man, it helps a lot. Thank you. All right. So Nvidia, 116.30, high of the pre-market. The low is down over at actually it's marked by the low from 2 days ago. So right in here, That is the low of the pre-market there. You do not need to mark anything else, right? Let's take a look at the bigger picture, zooming out a little bit, and you can see highs and lows have been all over the place, up to 120, down to 10, what is 106. I mean, this thing has had that's a $14 range in the last 2 trading days, right? So that just kind of tells you how much this thing is moving. For a stock that's $120, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's I think Andrew made a comment. This thing is moving like a low flow, right? And it is. It's moving a lot.
Yep.
So careful your risk management. The way you were trading this back in June, back in May, is not the same share size you're going to take here in July. It's a different type of animal. It's moving quite a lot. So be very, very careful. Don't need a boatload of shares to make good money. 110.17 is a level you want to mark down. You got a lot of support happening here. That looks good as well. You want to have that in the daily, and then towards the top, I think you're set, guys. You don't need to add really much on Nvidia. Beautiful pre-market activity, and when I mean beautiful, if you're new to the channel, is subscribe. What we mean by that is that it's flowing, right? You got a nice flow to it, opposed to something that looks like what can we select here? That doesn't look so great. CREV. Actually, CREV is starting to drop, but no shares for sure on CREV. So that's a bummer. Starting to drop there. No shares for sure. This one here, this is nasty, right? This is not looking good. Pretty flat, no volume. That is I mean, I'm in the extreme end, but that doesn't look good at all compared to Nvidia. Look how nice it looks. It almost looks like the market is open, which is what you want to see. Volatility and movement. Here's Tesla, another one that looks decent as well. High of the pre-market, pretty close to the area where we've been getting a lot of resistance. If you look on the daily here, we've just been getting slammed into this area the last couple of days. That's around 226. That is the resistance there. The highs, that's the highs of the last 2 trading days. Also pretty close to the pre-market high this morning. Towards the bottom, the low of the pre-market, 222.52. We'll slam one there. And then below that, guys, we do have the highs and lows for the last 2 trading days and the previous day close. In case we can break out of this 226, which is holding us back a little bit, towards the top, we do have a nice level at 233.83. And then right up here, another great level at 244.90. Look how much support, support we have here on this level that can now become resistance. Again, we're going to need a lot of firepower to get up there. There's going to need a lot of help and overall market push to make that type of move. But we'll see. 3M pushing higher, making a new market high. I like this one today. I think today this will be the sleeper. I think this one's going to get it done for us. Let's hope. 111, 45 is the high of the pre-market. The low is all the way slammed into the previous day close, and the highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. So I'm not going to worry too much about marking the pre-market low. We got just a bunch of levels down there, as you can see. Let's head over to the left. Is this no all-time highs? No, 52-week high, but we've been here before. We do have an area right up here, 112.04. We'll slam one there, and then above that, just in case we get going. Look at that big drop 2 years ago. That is massive. Another level, just in case, 112.82. So 2 levels towards the top off the daily, in case this thing does decide to go up. We haven't been up here in quite some time. We're looking back of last year, and there's some levels here. 108.60 is another good one. And towards the top, another 114.94. So that's all we have, friends, on that one. Again, looks good right now, trying to get going. We got to see the volume comes in and if this thing can trade very well. But I do like the gap up. We're up almost 7.5 here. Last but not least is POTR. POTR stuck between the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. I'm just going to mark down the high of the pre-market on this one at 27.18. And the low is all the way down below the previous day close at 26.50. And you're just around it. Just a whole lot going on here. One more level towards the top that I think could be important, 27.90. And once you do that, I think you are set on POTR. Lighter volume than usual, but let's see if the market open can get this thing alive again. And there you have it, friends. We've got a couple here: Serve, AMD, DXCM, and that's all we have for now. Peter, let's run through some of our moderators list and see what they got going on there, and then we'll switch over to Andrew and Brian trading live this morning.
Yeah, we can keep it pretty short because the lists are consistent. Pretty much everybody's watching AMD, NVIDIA, Tesla, right? That's on everybody's list. So I think if we just sort of stick with that, then you know what's good. I've put 3M and DXCM on my list just to see what's happening. Brian is also watching CrowdStrike. It's a tail end of that fun, but never know. And Google is on his list as well. Brendan D also has Google on his list. So that's the quick summary for today. So I want all of you to trade smart out there. Let's have a great Friday, right? Whatever you've chosen to look at, don't worry if it moves or if it doesn't, right? Stick to your strategies, and you can at least go into the weekend knowing that you stuck to your rules and you traded with maturity. So with that, we're going to go live with our live traders. Brian and Andrew are queuing up and getting ready to go. So have a great trading day. And Carlos, you have a wonderful weekend. And we got a surprise for
Yeah,
everybody on
you too,
Monday.
man.
Monday,
What is?
Thor is going to be sitting in this seat right here. He's going to be sitting in for me, so that'll be a lot of fun. So
Oh,
sure you
nice. That'll
guys
be
have a good
fun. Our
Monday.
good buddy Thor. Yeah,
Got
yeah.
a
That'll be
meeting to
fun.
go to, so enjoy that. And take care, everybody. Trade smart.
All right, man. Have a great weekend. Good luck camping. Hopefully, everybody enjoys it. And you guys have a great time. Good morning, Brian. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, good morning. I'm doing well. How is everyone doing today on this
Doing
lovely PCE report day?
Awesome.
Yeah. So in line with
PCE
expectations, I guess. We got 2.5.
Yeah.
And
pretty boring.
Yeah, pretty boring.
Right on target, which is good, I guess. But
well, I guess we'll see what the market brings today. Obviously, gapping up, and Nvidia is looking spicy. And we've still got 2 minutes to the open. Nvidia is starting to move here. Jared had picked out 118 to 120 as a possible move back up. This is an area where we kind of gapped down from on Wednesday. Moving average there on the daily. So it looks interesting. There are some orders up. Let me just share my screen here. So if someone else wants to come on, I don't think Andrew's joining here this morning. Oh shoot! Yeah, and I forgot to do something. Have to take a picture of something. Oh, stupid! Why does it do that?
all right,
I hate it.
I'll hang out here with you since I didn't know where Andrew wasn't going to be here this morning.
Apple seems to love changing your setting back to live on your photos. I have no idea why.
Wants to just use all of your storage space.
I guess, Ooh, Tesla's really leaking here.
Tesla's dropping. We got about 10 seconds to the market open. I don't have anything hot on my list here. Gonna watch DXCM, see what it does as we get to the open. It down 40% already, so we'll see. Here we go.
Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. I'm kind of focusing on Nvidia right now.
I'm watching Nvidia and AMD as well to see what they do, but
nothing yet. Crowd, I thought, looked kind of promising for a long, but it's not looking very good right now. Nvidia.
3M is getting a boost, but it hasn't got the big volume yet.
The Qs are dropping a bit. I'm seeing this pullback. AMD is not doing much. Nothing going on yet here.
No.
Just watching Tesla as well.
Went short a little Tesla. Let's see if we can get back to yesterday's close. Mm-hmm. Taking a partial here. There you go.
Nice. I'm just joined you on that short. So watching NVIDIA still. See what it's going to do.
Tesla has the ability to smash upwards, so it's coming back to my
Tesla's
break
back
even.
to my. Yeah, mine
no,
too.
I'm getting out. I don't want to risk it because this thing could pop a buck on me, and I don't need that. So
Man, NVIDIA's doing nothing. Well, maybe going south here now. It's a lot of orders to the upside.
all right, well that was quick. That's not typical of me. Must be your influence, Brian.
It must be Friday. Must be a Friday.
Yeah, Mr. T. Andrew likes to make fun of me
Friday.
for becoming an open trader, but only occasionally I take them. But that was very quick. AMD's back up above VWAP.
Yeah, AMD is typically pretty choppy. Man, NVIDIA is just like literally flatlining.
Oh, Tesla's back down again.
I kind of feel like it's going to break out here, but there's definitely a seller at 1550. The crowd is going back up. Just shorted NVIDIA because I think it's dropping. But I don't know if it's going to go. Oh, there goes our Tesla. Tesla's now dropping.
Should have had more patience, but the open makes me nervous.
Well, you just never know because Tesla can come storming back too.
Yep. What's Kaiser trading? WINT, really? Okay. Took the flyer on WINT. All right. Well, hopefully it looks like you made some good money off of that. So congratulations.
Okay, I'm just going to cover some NVIDIA here at 114.70.
Oh yeah, you're getting a drop on NVIDIA. Nice call there.
Yeah, 114.50, 45. Oh, nice. Yeah, 30. All right. It was definitely going to move somewhere. there was somebody selling there at 115.50 for sure. Stop. Okay, we're 5 minutes into the trading day. NVIDIA is coming back up now, so I'm going to get stopped out of the rest here. Qs are bouncing off pre-market low. SPY's bouncing off pretty close to the pre-market low. Yeah, Google really sold off too. So let's see what NVIDIA does here. What did Paris do? Paris, what did you do? No, NVIDIA, you got nice. You got the same trade I did. Very nice, Paris. Excellent. I should turn this backlight on. There we go. Oh, wait a second. What am I doing here? I didn't share screen. Forgot that last step. NVIDIA rejected at the VWAP. Still don't like the way it's really trading. It's kind of, it's really range bound here. Let's just take a look at some other stuff here. Let's look at Google. Let's look at 3M. 3M had a nice pop.
Hello. I'm back.
You're back?
I don't know. Something went weird. I sort of got frozen out, it looked like.
Okay. All right. Well, we're getting a bit of a bounce on some stuff here. The Qs are bouncing a bit. SPY is SPY is at high of day now.
That's not saying much, but yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it is
Okay.
a summer Friday, the last Friday in the month of July. So, not surprised to see muted volumes. Disappointed, but not surprised.
No. I think everybody was sort of anticipating this PCE number. It came in sort of in line with what everyone was expecting. So
Yep.
there weren't any real surprises. I mean, if you look at the pre-market action, it was pretty narrow today. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on. So I was watching 3M here. Might be interesting.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on 3M, but as you can see, if anybody's watching 3M, it's a good example of a NYSE stock and how they trade. Look at where the volume came in, right? It wasn't until 9:33 that you actually saw the volume. And you gotta wait for that before you jump in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's because a lot of the professional traders view the first 5 minutes as amateur hour or amateur minutes, whatever you want to call it, and so they typically don't get involved until some of that washes out. So let's keep an eye on NVIDIA. Let's see if this 1550, if they can break this level here.
Wow, AMD is just ugly and choppy.
Yeah, AMD has been like that for a couple of days here. Yeah, there's that seller at 1550, 1560 on NVIDIA. Jared is trading ASTS. ASTS. Must have shown up on the scanner. Tesla's still dropping here. There's some orders down there at 215. Get another short on Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. All right.
1720. Come on, there's an order building there at 216. Qs are starting to roll over a bit here. We're pretty close to low of yesterday, low of Thursday, which is 216, sort of 40-ish. So I'm not looking for probably a lot on this move. Come on, lose that 216 hard. Damn. Seems to be a buyer at 217 right now. Let's see if they can. Someone else, they'll step out of the way there. Come on, now's your chance. Now's the time.
Yeah, things are just sort of chopping here for the most part. It's not.
Well, the Qs are really are down at low of day. SPY is choppy. Yeah. Okay, well, what do we get? One good trade on NVIDIA, and now we're not looking very good on this Tesla trade. It's bouncing back.
Yeah, and I don't have much, guys. I mean, this is typical of my trading and trading style. If I don't have an open trade, then frankly, I don't usually get anything until probably about 10:30ish, especially on a day like today. You got to wait for larger patterns to set up and my strategies to come into play. So,
yeah, there isn't, that NVIDIA is not doing
AMD
anything.
is popping up.
AMD is popping up, but AMD is super choppy.
It is. Popping up is relative term. I mean, it's up 60 cents, which these days is not much for AMD. So, but it is at high of day for all that means.
All right. So I shorted more at 219. Let's see where it goes.
Thanks, Franklin. In Florida. Does that make you a Florida man? Don't do anything foolish.
Get above the VWAP, I'll have to stop out.
Yeah, Tesla is.
Yeah, Tesla, I'm kind of stuck in this trade now, so see what it does. It's going to reject at the VWAP, maybe not. Qs are bouncing back here. So I'm going to have to get out of this trade maybe.
Yeah, everything I'm looking at is pretty choppy here. It is not looking good. So Tesla's, gone above VWAP, heading back to the previous day close. but it's not doing anything with any big enthusiasm. So
No, still got some orders there at 216, under 216. So
the only thing that actually has a distinct direction is 3M, MMM. Everything else is pretty choppy.
Yeah, AMD choppy. See where Tesla's going now. Come on back down.
Wow, AMD, man, you are ugly. I hate to say it, my friend, but you are just ugly. Yeah, Mr.
Okay,
TA.
covered some at 218.17.
All right, let's get Tesla moving down to 217 for Brian.
Yeah.
Come on, Tesla.
Come on, Tesla. So I'm not looking as bad as I was.
See, AMD just went from high of day to low of day.
Yeah. And now it's really going south.
Yeah. Well, there you go. See, I just had an invite for breakfast a little bit later, so you can get away from these markets for a bit and go have breakfast with a friend. Come back and maybe things will be better.
Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Breakfast, not quite. Breakfast at Gabriel's.
Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to cover some more at 218.07. I still think this might go lower, but I'm not. That was not a great trade. I kind of chased that down to previous day low and then took an entry there. That was not a good entry. The only thing that really saved me there was that ad at 219. So I'm out of the rest of that trade. So that was a loss on Tesla, but small loss. Still green on the day, but not as green as I was, unfortunately. Let's see, what else have we got going on? Yeah, this is really quite a sort of a bit of a boring day. Yeah, 3M keeps ticking higher.
Andrew picked a good day to disappear.
I guess. $3M should be the one we're in here. That's the one that's moving up. That was pullback was definitely worth buying. it's not really trading very. It's kind of trading really choppy, like it's jumping around in the spread on 3M 10 to 15 cents.
That is true.
Brian and Peter,
Yes.
we're going to have Brent from Spot Gamma on at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And he's going to talk about options with you guys. He was going to originally talk
Fantastic.
to Andrew, but I'm sure you guys can entertain him.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring him on at 10 a.m.
Give us some good conversation. Now,
Or I can bring him on now.
Have you got a link for him?
We're going to entertain him?
He's already in VMix waiting.
Oh,
so
awesome. All right.
I can bring him in now if you guys need some
Yeah,
entertainment.
well, I'm not doing anything. I just was...
Brent, can you hear us?
We're going to entertain him. All right.
Yeah. I was just making sure my
Peter.
flashlight is all charged. My wife got me this flashlight for Christmas. It's like
Hey,
the
Brent.
best flashlight ever.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. We're going to bring
Hey.
you on a little bit early today because the market's
All right,
being
that sounds
boring.
great. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here on a day when you guys seem bored, so I can talk ad nauseum about a lot of things.
Well, Brent, you know what? That happens, right? When you get choppy markets like this, it just gets tougher sometimes to eke out some profits. So it's good to be cautious, and sometimes it's good to then maybe learn what you can do when the markets are more favorable.
Yeah. So I've seen and heard a couple of the names you're watching today: Tesla, Nvidia, AMD. Obviously, those are names that always have a lot of options flow in them.
Yes.
If I could, I would just like to sort of frame out how I see the market right now. If maybe that narrative will help a little bit of how I'm looking at things.
That'd be great.
We've had a big tech drawdown, obviously, as you guys are well aware. And what's interesting to me about this drawdown is I'm sure you guys all know that the NASDAQ and the spiders, they're 20% of those indexes from a weighting perspective is NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, right? And then you have semis in the chip sector as another huge part of that weighting. And so what we've seen over the last week as tech has really gotten pounded is that the NASDAQ and the spiders are getting crushed, right? They're down, 3, 4, 5% over the last 2 weeks. But then you have IWM and the Dow. That's actually up over that same time frame. And so what's happening is we're getting this equity rotation that is really the theme of what's happening right now. So there's a lot of trading flow and options flow related to these unwinds of essentially selling tech and moving back into IWMs and value in the Dow. And so what's happened now is that these tech names have gotten sold off very hard, very fast. They're oversold through our lens, and we look at volatility and options positioning. And so what we've had into yesterday is very high implied vols, a lot of put action. You've seen names like NVIDIA dropping to 105 yesterday, 106, I believe, in that area. Tesla, obviously, not too far off at 200, which is a support line. And implied vols gotten very expensive. Puts have gotten very expensive. And so the problem is, through my lenses now, we are in a kind of a negative gamma position in these names, which invokes a lot of this chop. We saw a lot of put selling yesterday, so people kind of covering shorts. But there's not yet a great reason to get long this stuff until I would argue next week, because next week we get earnings out of Microsoft, AMD, Qualcomm, Apple, Amazon, Intel, and then we also have the FOMC, PMI, and non-farms payroll. So like next week is a huge trigger, I think, for the market, just generally speaking. And so through that lens, we're really looking at tactical trading in here, playing big options levels, and it was fascinating to watch you guys look at NVIDIA and AMD and the like. And so that's the way that we're framing things. We're looking for quick trades here, kind of scalping moves and things like that, much akin to what you all are doing. I see you're looking at AMD. For today, we know AMD has a ton of options positions at it at 140. And so that's a level that we could really see just the stock revolve around. Same thing in Tesla. There's a huge strike at 220. So that's a big upside level. You can see yesterday we breached that level and then came back down to it. So this is kind of just swinging around or rotating around this level. The options flows so far this morning are kind of what you guys were talking about. It's choppy, right? Not a whole lot going on. And so we just see the flow sort of rotating around that level. I I will say, I mean, it's a summer Friday, right? Vols are elevated in, if you look at the VIX, for example, or you look at single stock vol. And if the market doesn't really do much here, I argue that that could be cause for a little bit of a lift. And this is, some of you may have heard of the Vanna trade before. And essentially what that is when vol is high, we need to keep stocks volatile. And if stocks just kind of pin and they don't do a whole lot, then that volatility, i.e. the VIX, should start to come down, and then we may get a little bit of a tailwind in stocks. So we do think that the market could put in a little bit of a sneaky move higher here into the afternoon. And sorry for that giant diatribe, but that's the way I'm looking at things this morning.
No, it's cool and very helpful. And you point out why it's important to understand, whether you're trading options directly or just understand where that volume sits. Because like you pointed out, like AMD is a stock I watch all day. And, it explains exactly what we're seeing. Like I called it choppy, but like you described, there's a reason for that, right? It's like you said, curling around or sort of just bouncing up and down above this 140 level. Because if there's a lot of options volume, a lot of money sitting at that level, that explains why AMD is exhibiting the behavior it is. And we probably aren't shouldn't expect big moves away from that between now and the close today. Brent, do you tend to
very succinct way of putting it.
Yeah, do you tend to look at the markets or trade differently on a Friday versus a Monday, like because of the nearness of the expiry?
Yeah, the interesting thing is on Fridays we have sometimes some big single stock expirations, and so when you have a name that has a big single stock expiration on a random Friday, we'll watch that the gamma levels that are set to expire that day as a key driver. The other interesting thing is the Friday is obviously there's this idea of options decay, and if you hold options over a weekend, particularly short-dated options, you're paying theta decay. Many of you are probably aware of that concept. And so generally speaking, what we think happens into Friday expirations is you'll have a tendency for things to lift or pick up when vol is unnaturally high. So I say it's unnaturally high right now because you have, we had a very high VIX. We had very high single stock vols into this weekend. Everybody knows the big news is next week with FOMC and the like, right? That's the primary driver of things. And so do you really want to own a bunch of hedges this weekend and just pay a high price for them? And pay for that decay, arguably not, right? And so, without a real catalyst to push us lower here, that's what sort of has us looking for this upside drift. The other problem with that high vol is, when we were testing 5,400 yesterday in the S&P and NVIDIA's at 105, the puts are very expensive. And many of you guys are familiar with the idea of shorting stock in the whole, right? Well, it works the same way with puts. If you buy puts when the stock is crashing, you're paying a ton of money for those puts, and that is generally going to kind of work against you. And so to that point, we saw a lot of put selling yesterday in NVIDIA around 105. We see very few put positions under 100 in NVIDIA. So if it probes back lower, we're going to look obviously to get long that stock there.
Brent,
but to the upside, we also saw very interesting. Yeah, please.
A couple seconds. We got the consumer sentiment number coming out. Just came out right now. Pretty much on expectations. 66. It's a relative scale, guys. 66 was the expected. 66.4 was the number. Consumer expectations came out pretty much on target as well. So I don't see a big number there. You notice the market did react slightly, but yeah, don't expect too much of it. Once again, a boring number. So that completes our economic data we were looking forward to coming out today. So like Brent was saying, next week's the big one, right? We got the FOMC rate decision. Like there's a ton of stuff plus earnings. Yeah, it's going to be big next week. Sorry, Brent, didn't mean to jump in, but number was coming.
No, not at all. I'm the kind of person you got to interrupt because once I start talking, I just keep
I like the passion.
Okay, so I traded just people know we just caught MMM through 120 just based on liquidity. And if you're looking at the book map here, you can see all these areas of liquidity where the stock, people asked why I jumped into it because it seemed like I was chasing it, and I kind of was, but this is what I was looking at here. And now we're kind of toppy, so I'm out now. So okay, go ahead, keep going. I'm interested, liking the discussion on options. I'll probably look to sell some options a little bit later in the day. 0 DTEs. Might look at something like a Netflix, depending on what the premium is, or so we'll see how the market
Yeah,
shakes out here. Give it an hour.
I'm taking a look at the vol in Triple M, which you guys were mentioning this morning.
Yeah, I don't know what the expected move on it was. It was, something that reported obviously this morning.
Yep.
I didn't see the expected move. Jared probably would probably have been tapped into that one. Oh, nice, Mike. Mike caught a nice reversal on Nvidia.
So far this morning, we see not a huge amount of options flow live in 3M. We see some call buying and as well as some put selling. It's not a huge options thing, but there's very few positions above 120, and we do see a call skew increasing. So calls are getting fairly expensive. Obviously, you have a pretty big jump to the upside. So I'm reading this as a little bit overextended, I would say. But fundamentally, they could have just knocked that out of the park, and so I don't have that lens. But I would say from my chair, it's a little bit overextended from that perspective. CrowdStrike as well. CrowdStrike's been obviously extremely interesting. Just want to check my levels real quick.
Yeah, CrowdStrike, I'm still short some puts, some 240 puts that'll expire today.
I like that trade. There's a ton of puts and I can put a screenshot, and there's a ton of puts down at 250, and then under 250, nothing really exists. And I always take that as a sentiment perspective, simply because if you think about how smart all the hedge funds are, I think there's 13,000 hedge funds. There's all of us retail traders, etc. Why doesn't anyone want to own puts below that level if the company was indeed going to go bankrupt and out of business? So that also suggests kind of more technically, dealer hedging flow to the downside would really drain off under that. So I think selling, puts under there is a pretty interesting trade. So kudos to you. And there's fuel to the upside, kind of into the 275 area, I would say.
Yeah, that was a trade that both Andrew and I put on earlier in the week based on the sort of bad news and then the drop, and then of course kind of the old, if you want to call it a bit of an overreaction that usually happens on this, and then sort of took at a level that was even further below that, and the premiums were quite elevated at that point due to the volatility and that move there. So, yeah, those were three. I got 370 for them.
Expiry today, Brian, you said?
Yes, they will expire today.
Oh, look at you.
And they're the 240s. Yeah, so I think they're pretty safe. They're trading around 8 cents right now.
Okay. Well, Brent, I'm going to give you the opening here. Jay Trades in the room is I'm not sure if you can see our room conversation, but he's saying, Can I ask you, where are you getting your option information? Here's your...
Sure. So I'm here to provide a view on markets today, not necessarily a sales pitch from myself, but I'm the founder of a company called Spot Game, and we do a bunch of options analysis. So if you go to spotgame.com, you can see all the types of data and things that we're doing. And brief background on myself: I have 20 years of institutional experience. I worked at a couple banks on derivatives desks. I worked for a family office, hedge fund, and I was at a market maker called Wolverine as well. So I always don't like to admit that I have 20 years of experience plus, because that gives me my age, but it's good, I guess.
Well, Brent, you can feel good because I've got you. I've got you beat by a mile, so don't feel bad about that.
Mr. T says, I don't look that old. Cheers to you, Mr. T. I appreciate that. So
we do appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate being here. And for everybody, to be clear, Spot Gamma, right? SpotGamma.com. Go there and check it out. It'll sort of show you the tools that he's using and what he's looking at.
Yeah, and we're at Spot Gamma on Twitter. Well,
I was going to say, I think we recorded Brent did a video last night. So if you didn't get a chance to a webinar last night, if you didn't get a chance to join last night live, I believe it's recorded and it should be up in the room. But I did manage to catch a little bit of it. It was quite interesting.
Yeah, thank you. We covered how the options market impacts individual stocks and options, and individual stocks and futures. And we try to, it was an educational conversation, and we give some people some tips on how they can look at their brokerage platform, the options data available in most major brokerage platforms to analyze the options market themselves. And the general idea here is we're looking at how traders are buying and selling options, and the way that market makers may hedge to move those stocks. So we're all aware of gamma squeezes. And then the other interesting thing is that, there's a lot that can be read or learned from looking at volatility. So implied volatility. Many of us know the VIX, but you can break down, okay, if people are paying a lot for NVIDIA calls or puts, that raises the price for those options. And sometimes that can get too expensive, right? And, that can be very informational as well. And
Indeed. We often rely on our options people in the room to give us that information because, yes, it can be very informative. And like we said, tell us why things are doing what they're doing sometimes when you just see weird stock price action.
Yeah, and in that presentation, one of the interesting things is when you measure the options notional value in NVIDIA, for example, it's now larger than the stock notional value that trades. Which is really fascinating. That suggests that the options market's larger than the stock market in some respects. And then further, 50 to as high as 70% on a daily basis of NVIDIA volume is tied to the next expiration. So we like to call that 0DT, but that's next expiration flow. So it's a massive amount. It's generally one of the top 3 options names in terms of volume. But what's also interesting about that is only about 10% of open interest is tied to that next Friday. So I can summarize all this is that there's just a ton of options day trading in NVIDIA, and it is larger in a lot of respects than what you see in the actual underlying stock volume itself.
Wow.
So if you are interested in options and you don't know a lot about them, you can always check out my book on Amazon, How to Trade Options, and then certainly Brent's analysis of options and option activity is a lot more granular and detailed. So, like I said, if you don't know a lot about options, probably my book would be a good place to start, and then taking some of Brent's info after you've got that context.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's cool. I'll have to check out your book as well. Jared here asked about the bets on NVIDIA are larger than the asset. And I think that is true. And I think the other thing that's true about it is there's clearly a lot of institutional high-frequency trading taking place. And a lot of times these are correlated trades, or some of you may have heard of dispersion trading before. And essentially what that is I'm going to trade NVIDIA options against the Qs or SPDR options. We saw that yesterday. There was a massive $250 million notional value of calls being sold in NVIDIA when the stock hit around 117.5 yesterday. And at that exact same time, there was a big QQQ call purchase. And that really timed with the market as a whole moving yesterday and kind of selling off. And that was really pretty fascinating. That we covered that in the video last night, so you could check that out.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because the market really just, looked like it was going to be a trending day. It looked like it was going to be strong. And then what was it, around midday? It just rolled over. So,
yeah. That highlights, I think, a key dynamic of this market. This is a negative gamma environment. That simply means that dealers and market makers have to sell stock, across the S&P, NVIDIA, all these names, as the stocks and the market's going down, and then they got to buy that stock back as the market is rallying. And that exacerbates volatility, right? Because you have these big entities shorting the market as it goes down, and then yesterday at 5,400, everyone turns around and starts buying, and they got to buy all that back. But most of you, I'm sure, are aware that the biggest rallies occur during bear markets, right? Or bear market moves. That's when we get the biggest rallies. And those rallies tend to be very unstable, meaning you get a violent 1.5%, 2% rally, and then it totally fades in the afternoon, right? Because the driver of those flows was short covering. And that's essentially a lot of what you get here when people are selling puts, for example, and volatility, implied volatility is very high. This is like, again, this idea of the Vanna trade. So in our view, you're going to keep getting this chop and these violent swings until we get more into a positive gamma environment. And for us in the S&P, that's over 5,500. So we're playing day trading, big swings here, generally in large stocks up until we get over that spider 550 area. Then we think a lot more stability comes into the market.
David.
Well, Brent, really appreciate you taking the time to explain that to us this morning. I know that on YouTube I'm seeing a bunch of questions and people have about like how do you use spot gamma? How can we get access to it? Your best bet at this point, I assume, go to the website, right, and get all the information you can from it.
Just to interrupt.
Indeed.
Brent, if you can share your screen, if you're willing to show how to use it, there's a button on the vMix call to share a screen, and it will swap your camera out for your monitor.
Oh, that'd be great.
I would be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, so let's do that. And then, Peter, I think you have to get going.
I do have to go. So, as I mentioned, I got a breakfast date, guys. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Brent, appreciate you being here. Yeah, and if you can swap out the camera, that's cool. Then you can show people sort of a little snippet, at least, of what it looks like. There you go.
Peter,
that's looking good.
Peter, is your breakfast date going to involve whiskey or?
Even I'm not that aggressive. It will not.
Don't you put a raw egg in whiskey in there? What's that drink? You mix it.
That's right. Then it's breakfast.
You mix the egg in it.
That's a whiskey sour then. You're right. You know what? I'm going to see if I can get a whiskey sour. That's a breakfast drink for sure. All right. Enjoy the rest of your trading morning, guys. I'm going to be back here this afternoon, so take care.
See you, Peter. Have a good breakfast.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I see somebody here. I see somebody asked about Netflix, and so this is obviously what Netflix is doing today. We bounced off this 635 level and are at the 640, and so without making things too complicated, what you could see here is call positions, specifically it's called call gamma, is in orange, and then put positions are in blue. And so the bigger these bars are, the more hedging flow is associated with these various strikes. And that's what creates, in our view, support and resistance. So you can see the smallest bars of the bars really start to shrink under 630 and over 650. So when I just very quickly look at this, this is my effective trading range that I'm going to be watching. And these positions aren't likely to change until there's a big options expiration. So those are the, that's the sort of high level of what we look at. And then you can, break this down and dig in a little more to see some of the more specific strikes. So in this case, we have 640 as this resistance point, and then here's 635. It's called our put wall. And then, when you go and look at the stock, you can see indeed that we bounce off here and then are now testing the 640 level, right? So there's the 635 to 640. So this is a quick example of how those options levels can help. And one of the things to be clear is you all here have incredible trading strategies, and I'm not here to replace anybody's strategies. I'm just here to simply supplement data and show you how options can influence price action, and you can incorporate that into your own strategies, right? And Danny, if you're looking at spotgamma.com, this is the platform that we've built, and we can look at these options flows in real time as well. So what you're seeing here, the white line is the price of the option stock, the price of the stock. And then the purple line is the actual options flows, live options flows of Netflix. And so if this purple line is going up, that means dealers and market makers need to buy stock. If the line's going down, dealers and market makers have to sell stock. And this is pretty quiet right now. So you can see that our current reading of 3.6 million is in the 30-day range. The high and low is 230 million to 140 million. So we've only traded 3 million to the point that the guys were making here about things being quiet. It's really, really rather quiet here in Netflix at the moment. So we're just sort of ping-ponging between these levels that we just highlighted. Here's an example of what we've seen in NVIDIA. Yesterday, I made a reference to this big trade we saw yesterday, so let me just go back in time. You can see this red line dropping right here. This is dollars notional on the right. So what this tells us is that the our signal went from $638 million down to $400 million. That tells us that somebody sold $230 million worth of calls in one quick clip right here, right? And what that did is you could see this 116 area, that dropped the options flow, and the stock never was able to recover above that, right? The stock actually closed quite a bit lower. And so, this is another signal where you could say, okay, well, who's got a $230 million options position? Obviously, that's a big player, right? That's a whale. And so when you see those people making these big trades, it can obviously be really rather informative. And then if we look at the Qs, I just want to show you the other side of that trade. You can see it right here. See this big line? The Qs trade a larger volume. So this line looks relatively smaller, but it's the same notional value right here, $200 million plus. So that led us to say, okay, look, somebody sold calls in NVIDIA and they bought them in the Qs, and that's part of this pairs trade that we see quite often.
If chat has any questions right now, now's the time to ask Brent anything you want about Spot Gamma.
Yeah, we see someone mentioning Amazon.
Tesla.
Yeah, pretty quiet flows. Check Tesla here for you. That's interesting in Tesla. So we mentioned 220 in that chat before. Yeah. So here's 220. This is the big level certainly for today in Tesla as a resistance level. And then you can see these options flows off of 220 have gotten very negative, and they're persisting to be fairly negative down here. You can see about a negative $100 million on the day so far. But Tesla can trade $1 billion a day, so this too very light. And if we look at our equity hub positions, it'll show you this 220 strike that's so prominent. You can see it right here, huge strike. So for us, I think we just kind of feed back into these big levels when there's not a real catalyst, right? And I think the big catalyst comes next week.
So Brent, the one thing I've always heard about Tesla is it's really heavily traded by just retail traders. Do you concur with that, and do you see the difference in the way the options trade? Because it seems like the retail traders are trading the options on this too.
Yeah, I think that there is, you have NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, S&P, the Qs, you have these top 10 names where there's just huge volume all the time, right? And clearly there's a lot of retail options flow. JP Morgan says about 20% of options flow now is retail. And retail covers the gamut, right? Retail can be people on Robinhood that, are just taking a guess at what a call or put is. But now there's this new segment, and I guess most of us in the room here would be, pro tails, what we call is what the label is.
Yes.
So, advanced retail traders. And I do think that's a huge segment of the population. But I think that the reason that we have these record volumes is because of the fact that there are high frequency trading shops, sophisticated shops. They're doing just a lot of day trading. And if you look at the size and how fast the order flow comes in, it can't all be retail, right? It just and you see a lot of coordination as well. Meaning, like yesterday at 10 a.m., for example, options got bought across the board on the lows. And so just to show you that, this is this 10 a.m. dip. So what you can see here is right at 10 a.m., 10:15 to be precise, all these calls started getting bought, which means our purple line goes up. Well, if I show you the S&P 500, same thing, right? Right here, same time, 10 o'clock, all these options flows go up. If I show you NVIDIA, same thing, 10 o'clock yesterday, options flows rip higher. So, retail's not that coordinated, right? We're not all buying it exactly at the same time. Right. And so as soon as stuff starts getting bought, I think it unlocks a lot of these flows across the board. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? You get leverage with zero DTE trading or short dated options trading. So why buy 100 shares of stock if you can buy a call, for example? And that changes the P&L for a lot of these kind of statistical arbitrage trades.
Hey Brent, I have a question for you from YouTube.
Sure.
What filters do you have on Spot Gamma, and what do you recommend applying when using the application?
That's a great question. So we have a couple of different things. For example, on our screen here, we have this thing called a flow alert, and it can be oftentimes hard to know if the options flow is significant to the underlying stock. And so what the flow alert does is we have an algorithm that tells you, okay, the amount of flow that has hit from the options perspective is large, and so you should pay attention to the options market for the given stock. So in this case, you saw negative delta flow in NVIDIA. And once we hit this level, which is about $80 million, we say, okay, look, options are a big driver here you want to watch. So what I'm watching for an NVIDIA is the fact that as we're pulling lower in the stock to roughly 113 area, you can see how our indicators flattened out. See this purple line? That tells me that people were buying puts, but now they're sitting on their hands, right? The fact that this purple line is just going sideways tells us that options flow is backed off. If I get any indication that this purple line is going to start lifting, then I would look for the stock to start to move back into 115. So we show these alerts across all major single stocks. You can see here in Costco, for example, there's some call buying that's been material enough to maybe lift the stock there, as well as the S&P 500. It's a core component of what we do as well. And then the other one that people find interesting, I know there's a lot of questions on gamma squeezes yesterday. We have a squeeze scanner, and what that's looking at is options positioning through a bunch of different metrics and short sale data. And then there's a couple of technical indicators in there. And the technical indicators are just there to tell us whether something is extremely overbought or sold from like an RSI or a Bollinger Band perspective. And the idea here is we want to see a lot of call positions above in these names. And we want to see implied volatility that is starting to pick up a little bit, telling us that calls are really getting bought. But that calls aren't too rich, right? Because you don't want to buy into calls that are too expensive. So we have 21 names on our squeeze scanner this morning. Our stats show that over a 5-day period, these stocks tend to broadly outperform. They tend to outperform the broad market. So typically, I'll filter through these names, and I'm looking for a 3 to 5% move over the next couple of days when something shows up on these charts. So I was looking at, for example, Meta was a kind of an interesting one to always watch, and I could just break that down quickly. Stock has really gotten beaten up recently, so in this case, you could see 470s are a really big strike there, massive amount at 500, so keep that one in the back of your mind. But there's very few positions under 450, and so anytime we get a probe to this 450 area or CrowdStrike, I mentioned 250 before, NVIDIA is 100, the same thing. When we start to probe to these areas where there's no put positions down below, I generally think that momentum is going to subside to the downside there. So I often look for buying opportunities there. But the idea here is with Meta on our squeeze scanner, we're trading right in here in this 460 area with a lot of gamma positioned above 470 being that kind of upside target. So this is a name that, based on our scanner, I may look to buy calls or call spreads or just get long the stock, looking for a rally up into this 470 as a rough example. And then to the downside,
are you talking about
take a stop under. I'm talking.
Are you talking about a day trade, or are you talking about a like more of a swing trade, like into next week?
Yes, sir. That's a fantastic question. So that would typically be a swing trade, and so
Right.
I will generally buy calls or call spreads in these situations. Occasionally, depending on the name, I'll just buy stock. In this environment where the market generally is kind of shaky, I probably won't buy stock because obviously you worry about the beta impact of stocks going down significantly. So if we're in a pretty healthy, strong market and in an uptrend, I may just buy stock and hold it for a few days. That's something I do as well. But that being said, if I get my move, if I'm lucky enough to get my move today, I'll close it out, right? Because I have a clear upside at big gamma strikes like here, 470. And that's what my trade is. And so, that's what I'd be kind of looking to do. Generally, this is a 1 to 5 day move is what we're looking at in this situation.
Right on.
And then I know you mentioned you like to sell premium there, Brian. So we also have a volatility risk premium scanner, which is simply names that may be interesting to sell options in. We have a bunch of different data and stats on that. The thing that's interesting about this is there's a lot of tech names in here, right? And so this is telling us statistically that these options have a very high implied vol rank. And that generally means that there could be some premium there, right? So before I mentioned that tech is really extended to the downside. In fact, if you just frame this a little bit, if you look at, I write research every morning. This is my research note from this morning. This is SMH here, the semi sector. And so you can see we're down 20% roughly in a matter of a couple of weeks, right? So that's a lot. And we're right on this trend line. And I don't know that there's a macro reason for this yet, right? Maybe we get a rate cut next week. Earnings in the tech sector have been okay, I think. Texas Instruments all right. I think Google is okay. So I'm not a fundamental analysis to break this down. But when I look at this, I can simply say, okay, we were very overbought. Now we've violently come back down to trend. And I think all of us could look and say, okay, this is a reasonable spot for this market to bounce. Particularly if Fed is good next week and mega cap earnings are okay, et cetera, et cetera. But what I do know is that the volatility of this downside has made options very expensive, right? And we're just sort of due for a little bit of at least a dead cat bounce in my view. And this looks a lot like April to me. You can see April is right here, right? And, look, if Powell says, hey, no rate cut next week, or Powell says, look, the economy's in a horrible recession, we're all in trouble. Well, all right, then it doesn't matter what the options market's telling you in the short term because we're going to keep going lower. But this is the overbought. So when you are oversold, so when you look at the scanners and you see, okay, look at all the tech names on here, it's telling you a story, right? Dell has high implied vol, the Qs, right? Nvidia, Spiders, which is really just a tech trade, right? Because those top three names are mega cap tech in the index. So, this is all screaming to me that we're short-term oversold. And so, is that an interesting time to sell some put spreads off the lows in some of these names, looking for a bounce into Monday, Tuesday pre-FOMC? I think that's quite interesting. I'm positioned in that way, just playing this oversold metric, right? Doesn't mean I don't know. I have no idea where we'll be in a month from now. I'm waiting on this data for next week to set up longer-term trades. But I'm happy to sort of, take a few short-term swings here on decent risk reward of things being oversold.
Right.
Brent, before we end the stream, if I have another question in YouTube.
Please, fire away.
Yeah, if you can explain for beginners in spot gamma and beginners in option trading, what subscription would you subscribe? What subscription would you suggest to beginners at spot gamma?
That's a fantastic question. So if you trade just the indexes, if you trade S&P and futures only, we have a standard membership. Standard membership is where we write our founders note every day and we try to walk people through concepts. That gets you access to Q&As that we do every week. We do 4 Q&As every week, Discord, all those types of chats. So I would say standard is great for that. The other thing is that we offer a steeply discounted first month membership. So if you trade single stocks, I do actually recommend this alpha tier. And I know that's a little bit more expensive, but you're seeing the live options flows. You're getting that just extra value. And then if you go, hey, look, this is a little too much for me, let me downgrade, just email us and we'll downgrade you. It's not, it's not a huge deal. So the last thing we want is someone to, dive into the deep end of the pool and then be like, hey, I can't swim. I need some floaties. And then we'll go, okay, no problem. Here's some floaties. We're trying to build long-term relationships with people and partner with communities like yourself. So, don't be intimidated to try the more expensive membership. And if you're just feeling super lost, just shoot us an email, info@spotgamma.com, and we can downgrade you and take care of that. I would also say, if you happen to be on YouTube, if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/spotgamma, we did this video on correlation spasms. Some people said they couldn't quite track what I'm saying about correlation. I spoke very fast, but I walked everyone through just what the current market environment and outside of the options market, I think it shows you a lot of interesting data and insights around what I call a sector rotation. So we're going out of tech and into small cap. And one of the things I'm worried about, and this trends into fundamental analysis a little bit, I guess, is tech vols are very expensive because stuff has been crashing, but IWMs and small cap vols are very expensive because it's been ripping, right? It's been doing the opposite thing. So we have this really funny environment where tech is expensive because it's been crashing. Tech options are expensive, but small cap calls are expensive because they've been driving up so much. And I wonder if we get great earnings next week out of tech and you get a rate cut signal, is that sort of sell the news in the mega cap, or excuse me, in IWMs and calls and buy the dip in tech, right? So, we could very easily shift around, and I think that backdrop framework is helpful when we're trying to, make swing trades in various different names.
Yeah, you could easily see getting a rotation back into tech as a possibility anyway. But,
yeah. Amazing swings today. I just saw futures were going from 5,500 down to 54.75. Nothing sticky here. And again, the general idea is that when the stock market is going up right now, market makers are having to buy a lot of shares of stock, and then we hit a level and it starts to turn around, and then they got to sell those shares of stock. So they're trend following, momentum trading right now, and that gives us these much bigger market swings.
Okay,
so
Brent,
sometimes for those of you who don't, I would just mention for some of you that don't trade options, this is when options I think can be very interesting to trade, because if you're just sitting there short puts and CrowdStrike like Brian, the chop is okay, right? Chop away, go ahead. I'm still earning my decay. So that's another thing that options trading opens up for people. I know a lot of people are saying, I don't want to swing trade this or whatever, or scalp stock, and I don't blame you. But if you're just short a condor or something like that, hoping the market stays in a range or stock stays in a big range, that can be really rather helpful. So something I'm sure Brian covers in his book. I'm going to go and check that out for sure.
Yeah. There's obviously the one of the advantages of trading options is you can trade, you don't have to have a trending market or a moving market. You can take trades where you don't expect a big move in either direction. And you can do that with putting on trades that define your risk. So you don't have to, like, selling an option selling options is very risky. So you have to really manage your positions. But if you can do, like you said, condors and stuff like that controls your risk, defines your risk. So a number of advantages to trading options.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps it up for me here. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope that we shed some light on how options can help move the markets a little bit, and maybe there's some new target levels, or at least in the short term, for some of these stocks. And so I'm very grateful for having me on today.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Brent. It was very insightful this morning, and like I said, I enjoyed your webinar last night. I didn't catch all of it, but I'm going to go back and watch the rest of it. It's available for our members in the recording. Mike's already put up the link, so thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, and everybody on YouTube, enjoy your weekend. Hope you had a good morning. We'll talk to y'all later.
Take care.